Buongiorno. So, right behind me, sitting here, is the Polyend Play Plus, a device I have made one video about when I received it a few months ago now. It originally launched with the 1.0 firmware, and my video was recorded using the 1.0 firmware. Shortly after my video went up, there was a 1.01 firmware, which I downloaded and saw basically the same issues. If you didn't see my first video on it, no worries. In short, there are a lot of problems with this device. A lot of weird glitches, including just loading your first project of the day. If you're loading something that you've been working on previously, it may just start screeching at you and not stop until you unplug the power. Often loading samples may not work. Sometimes samples will say they're one sample but play a different sample. Those glitches are still happening. Those glitches happened in 1.0 and 1.01. And there has not been an update. I have checked routinely in the time since 1.01 came out, because I really wanted to make a follow-up video about this that was a redemption story. I mentioned this in my first video, but I never go out of my way to try a piece of gear to crap on it or to make a negative video about it. Everything I try in my studio, I try because I'm excited and I think it could be an awesome piece of gear to add to my workflow. As I noted in my last video, I did not pay for this with my own money. The good folks at Zounds sent this over, and I am sending it back basically today. As I started packing it up, or really unpacking because I've moved, got it out of the box, checked if there were any updates. Again, there were not. Started listening to my old projects and being like, oh, I was able to make some cool stuff. Had 3 different screeching crashes where my headphones were emitting a noise that's probably damaging to the ears, which I'll show you later because it'll probably happen when I walk through some of the projects that I do like on here that I made. In the process of getting this ready to ship back, I realized I do want to give my final thoughts on this, and so this is that video. One of the things my commenters pointed out, or at least a few commenters pointed out, was that there may be a problem with the SD card that was included in the device. There are some people saying that if they swap out and get a new SD card, it solves the problem. I had a pretty interesting back and forth with someone who was saying I was being unfair because I didn't go spend more of my own money to go buy a new SD card to see if that fixed it. And I want to make something crystal clear that I have said before with other devices, but it bears repeating. If you make a device that requires an SD card, that runs and solely functions with a working SD card, especially a device like the Polyend Play Plus, which can only play samples along with a few synth engines with some severe limitations as far as how many presets you can load per project, etc. But for the most part, this device requires and depends upon an SD card. There is an SD card included in the box, and there are people saying that potentially swapping that SD card out would make it work. Similar to the launch of the Machine Plus, my response is this. If your device requires an SD card and you ship a broken SD card, you have shipped a broken device. Now, the good news is it's an easier fix than a motherboard or some other component, right? But the bad news is you shipped a product that people have to troubleshoot upon arrival and may have to pay additional money to fix because you sent something that didn't work. If your product requires a working SD card, include a working SD card. And to be clear, I did not go out and buy a new SD card to test with this. As I responded to that commenter, I basically said this: if Polyend is certain that the issue here is the SD card, they should ship every single user who has an issue a new SD card. I had enough issues with this device that I really didn't feel like spending more money on it. And because I'm in the privileged position I am to partner with Zounds as an affiliate, I did not have to spend money to use this. And I certainly wasn't going to spend additional money to try to triage it before I send it back, especially if the company is not consistently putting updates out. And especially as I look around and I'm not seeing a lot of other people talk about this. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here, but it is interesting how few people I've seen talk about this. Even channels like Bad Gear didn't really talk about the bugs. So there's a chance maybe I just got a really bad unit. If Polyend does ever want to send a different device for me to test to see if that works, I'm interested potentially. As I noted in my previous video, I'm personally not really into generative music. Like, I don't like the feature on this device or other devices that create a pattern for you and automatically select samples for you. And because this isn't a sampler, it's a sample player, you can't really make your own samples into the device. You'd have to go record your own samples somewhere else, organize them with proper file names such as kick, snare, hat, etc. Put those into the appropriate folders and then have it generate for you. So it is much easier to have it generate songs with its own programs and pattern types, and then someone else's preset samples, including polyends, than it is to go make your own samples. Because of that, the ease of use and immediacy of the device in a lot of ways centers around taking a lot of the creation process away from the user. For some people, this is a pro. I was told I was being a weirdo when I said I didn't like this. I'm just sharing my opinion on how I feel about this. If you don't agree with me on this, that is cool. I highly, highly recommend that you try out any product you think you might like, especially if it has a decent return policy, and ignore people like me on the internet if you have a very different feeling about it. I'm literally just a dude on the internet. And I don't know exactly what it is that brings out this side of me. I think devices like this and the Machine Plus when it launched, and to be clear, the Machine Plus is now one of my favorite devices of all time. I have made multiple songs that will end up on my next album on the Machine Plus. The majority of the work was done on the Machine Plus. I think that device is great. I do feel like it warrants many more updates than it's had, and I'm very curious what a next generation version would look like. But I'm saying that to make clear that I do think there's a future where this device gets enough updates and is also great. But I do recommend that you wait for that future before you buy it, especially if you have an original Play that is still working for you, that doesn't have the same glitches, because by all accounts, most of the commenters in my comment section on the last video who did have the original Play basically said they never had any of these issues. They were just upset about the upgrade thing and the fact that this launched and then lowered the MSRP of the original Play, which is also its own situation, which I understand where people are coming from with that. I get upset because there is so much promise, and I get upset because charging $800 or $1,400 for the Machine Plus when it launched, or really any amount of money for a device that can't do what it says it can do due to glitches, due to errors, and potentially maybe due to an included accessory that they chose to ship. An accessory which is the functioning brain in some ways, or at least the memory and stored knowledge of the device. I want to make sure that people know what they're getting into when they buy something. And I want to be honest, like my dorky tattoo says, you can read it. I stay honest. I make clear when I have connections. Like I said, when I say stuff about Native Instruments that's nice, know that I am biased. Native Instruments has sent me keyboards, they've sent me plugins, we're cool. I am biased. I have worked with Polyend. They gave me $150 off of a tracker 2 or so years ago in exchange to make whatever videos I wanted. This was not provided by them, but I had a bias in being nice to Polyend, to be clear. And I still feel how I feel about this device. I just think it's a shame to charge this much and to have all the extra controversy around the trade-in policy, especially the timeline of that. It feels like a lose-lose situation for them. I do feel for them, but I also don't think they handled that in a consumer-friendly way, at least the way they might have imagined they were. I think really dropping the MSRP of the original Play is probably the worst part, because you're essentially locked in. Like you're now automatically selling it a $300 reduction against brand new devices, so you're probably selling it a $400 or $500 reduction, or trading in for $400 plus shipping. Anyway, definitely, in my opinion, do not trade in your current Play to get a Play Plus until they fix the glitches. Until you start seeing people say, this new update fixed my glitches, I'm probably not going to be that person because I'm sending this back. But yeah, before I send it back, before I package this up, I did want to point the camera at it and play you a few of the things I've been working on. If glitches come up while I'm doing that, I'm going to record them and I'm going to include them in the video. If no glitches come up, that's the ideal situation, but we'll see, because I've already seen them today. To be clear, my SD card includes samples I got from Splice and other places. They are all properly labeled and formatted. None of them should exceed the capability of the device. To my knowledge, there's nothing special about my files. They may have long file names, but the MPC, the Machine Plus, the Ableton Push, and basically every other device, including the Polyend tracker that I've ever used with those same exact samples, has not had these issues. Okay, let's listen to some music and bid a fond, or maybe not so fond, farewell to the Play Plus. Okay, let's do a new project. I'm not going to save this one. Creating a new project. Nothing should play. It's a new project. Now, let's open a project. One I think I really was enjoying was Sturdy Apology. Let's open Sturdy Apology. Here we go. That is not what this is supposed to sound like, by the way. Cool. Well, we're not getting the full screech. but it's definitely broken. Great, let's power off it. It hasn't fully frozen, so we can at least shut it off. Now, after I shut it off and turn it back on, I should not have problems with this one. Yep, that's what it should sound like. And this is one of my favorite things I made on this, actually. Cool. Yeah, that was probably my favorite thing I made on this. I'm not going to save that. I think I liked Voracious Cakes. Let's try to open that. That doesn't seem right. That's... I think the synth presets just like wrong. What synth is this really? Select that. It's supposed to be Fifth Sun? No. Actually, I think there's only one synth, so this would be, what is that? Kick. Oh, sorry. Up, hat closed. Instrument C, synth C. I don't think that's what that's supposed to sound like. Let's try opening it again. I swear that would not be one of my favorite projects I worked on if that was what that sounded like. Whatever. Let's try Testy Crime. Oh, and I think I shouted this out before, but I really like the auto naming function that Polyend uses, both in the Play Plus, and the tracker. It comes up with some pretty good names. The Ableton Push, I think, copied that, and it's a really good feature. Auto naming is cool. I like it. Giving this one a chance. It might just be really sample heavy. Not sure. Okay. Oh. Yeah, there's something wrong with the synth tracks here. All right, we're gonna restart this because that's not what that should sound like. Okay. Okay. Maybe that's what I did. I guess. I swear this is okay. Let's try Chivalrous Rake, maybe? I remember using cooler sounding synth sounds, but maybe I didn't, I guess. That's what balloon sounds like? Is it the patch one? Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. This is what I'm saying. Okay, actually, this is a new glitch. So basically, it's showing you the patch name, but it's playing the default, the init. Yeah, I was like, this sounds a lot better. Okay. So that's fascinating, because that's not a sample issue, which would speak to it potentially not being a micro SD issue, but who knows? I'm not a developer of this. Okay, so now let's try Testy Crime again. And see if we can fix that. If we can fix the synth sound. Because that's weird. Anyway, here's one of the things I'm talking about. I make something I like on this. I go out of my way to learn this device, and then I can't even depend on it to actually sound like what I made. So then I'm like, what did I like? What was I doing? And it's all this can do. It can only play samples and play these little synth engines. Yeah, that doesn't feel like what I wanted, but who knows? Sample. This is supposed to be Evo. Let's try it now. And what is this one supposed to be? Solid bass. Try that. Oh, cool. So yeah, this is actually a new issue. It's not what I expected to be showing you, but now it seems like I can't depend on the synth engines to play the preset selected. Luckily, when you select a note, it shows you the preset it was playing. So reloading the preset does seem to work, but I believe I'm losing the editing I've done on that preset. I could be wrong on that though. Don't hold me to that specific last bit. All right, let's try Sturdy Apology. Open. I think Sturdy Apology we played at the beginning. It sounded right, I think. Okay. That's not how this goes. You actually heard it at the beginning. This is... What is that? If we go to sample, that's a shaker. Kick. Okay. Yeah. So here's the thing. Before I packed this up, I was actually going to try to multi-out the audio into my computer to record just like, you know, maybe 16 bars, 32 bar loops of these projects so I would have the audio. But it seems like doing that, just getting to the point where I could do that properly will be enough work that I am leaning towards just erasing this SD card, formatting it, and sending it back. Because this, I don't think you should go out of your way to buy DAWless gear to do more triaging than you'd have to do on a computer. Okay, let's open Mysterious Lettuce. I don't know what Mysterious Lettuce sounds like. But yeah, what I'm saying here is sometimes samples or sometimes synth presets, and you're seeing this, and I'm not making this up. This is all one recorded thing. This is my audio recorder. We've been doing this for 8 minutes and 33 seconds. I might cut for brevity, but we'll see. Oh, I like this one. I think everything's working here. Oh man. See, times like this is where it hurts, man. Cause like, that's really pretty and that's really cool. And sometimes you make something on here and you're like, wow, this is awesome. But you saw everything I just went through to even get to one that sounded right, that like didn't have issues. God, what a headache, man. I hope they fix this. I hope they fix the glitches, right? I think I was too harsh on it in my first video because of how many glitches I had. It was very hard to even get to the point where I could enjoy what I was making. I tried to make more stuff. I had more issues. And so I didn't make a follow-up video. They never updated it again. But man, this could be a good device, I think. I hope they fix it. I don't think I'll have it by the time they do. And I don't think you should buy it until they fix it. Until someone comes out and says, we fixed it, whether it's Polyend or I guess maybe a different reviewer who is talking about this stuff. And I guess it's still possible that it's just mine, but frankly, after I uploaded my video, multiple people reached out to me to say they were having the same problems I was having, including people I trust in the space who I know had the device. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Not ideal. Let's see what erratic basketball sounds like. Also, to be clear, some of these projects probably sound bad, and that's on me. I make dumb things and bad sounding things too sometimes, but the issues I'm noticing are not things I built. This one sounds good though. I mean, as far as like sounding like what I made, it's not a good pattern, but I made this. Although it does speak to an issue, there's no mixer tab, there's no mixer window, so that synth or whatever that is way too loud. You can lower it. If I select the notes here, I can lower the volume, the velocity. But there's no master level mixer. And so I actually don't even know what my output really is. I can't see the dB levels of every track, which you can on the tracker. Okay, let's see if I wanted to format this. Can you do it on device? Firmware, can update the firmware. Firmware is at the most recent version, at least public. Yeah, I think if I want to flash this thing, I'll have to do it on my computer. Okay, let's turn it off. Okay, yeah. So final thoughts. Sending back to Polyend Play Plus, I would highly recommend waiting to buy until it's more stable. If it's the SD card, they should fix the SD card. If it's the firmware, they should fix the firmware. It's not a device I can recommend in its current state, even after all these months, and I'm sending it back. I think it has a lot of promise, and I do think the workflow can appeal to some people, to a lot of people potentially. But there's some serious stuff to fix on the bug side, and some things I think they should change on just the normal UI side, such as having a mixer so you can actually see the total overall loudness of each track next to each other. I also think there could be some more intuitive work done on mapping knobs to synth engines, especially programming your own synth patches is almost entirely menu diving. That could definitely be improved. And it's actually the one thing, not to just beat a dead horse here, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but when they say this is the device they wanted to make, that they couldn't make because of the chip shortage, the fact that none of the knob labels mention the synths at all, they're the same knob labels that were on the original Play. I don't believe that. If this was the device they wanted to make the whole time, they should have made the panel correspond to the synth engines, because without that, it's hard not to feel like the synth engines are a bit of an afterthought. You can make the argument it's environmentally friendly to use the exact same front panels, and I think it's a genuinely good argument. But at the sacrificing of usability, along with the bugs, along with everything else, I don't think the right trade-offs were made with this device. I hope it gets better, but I'm not sure I'll be there to see it. Well, like hopefully I'll be alive. I just mean I won't have one, okay? I'm hoping next week's video will be more positive. I really, really, really don't go out of my way to make negative videos. If you have the Polyend Play, or the Polyend Play Plus especially, and it's working for you and you like it, the point of this video is not to make you not like your device. I am just a guy on the internet. This is just my opinion. Thank you again to Zounds for sending this. There are some recent devices I really like that I've been using recently that I will have linked below. If you would consider checking out my music, that would be really cool. And I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who has checked out my music, has liked and subscribed to the channel. And I really want to give a sincere, genuine thank you to companies like Polyend and other companies in this space who are going out of their way to experiment and try to make cool new products. I know that they had to have tried their best. I don't know that they knew about these issues. If they knew about these issues and shipped it, that's disappointing. It happens, but it's still disappointing. If they didn't know about these issues, I'd be surprised, but that can happen. I genuinely hope they fix it. I genuinely hope this product works for everyone who loves it. And I genuinely hope that me giving critical feedback like this does not jeopardize these companies' ability to do things. I am not making videos like this because I want to see anyone in the industry have any problems. I am making videos like this because consumers deserve to know how these things actually work. But please do not take this critical feedback as some indictment of these companies. I do not think Polyend shouldn't exist. I like Polyend. I think more companies making cool stuff in this space is really important, even if they miss sometimes, because we all miss. I've made songs I'm not proud of. I've made videos I'm not proud of. We pick ourselves up, we get better. The next day, hopefully we make something better or do something better. But sincerely, seriously, I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here, and I think the industry is better if companies like Polyend exist. So, anyway, I will never shut up if I don't stop recording. So I will see you next week. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. Catch you soon. Peace.